Hi there, and welcome to A New Way to Age. My name is Terry. I'll be your host today. And I'm sitting here today with Laura and Brian. They are patients of Dr. Walter at Medical Aesthetics of New England. Again, we're talking about bioidentical hormone therapy. So Laura, we were talking a little bit earlier, and you said you're a nutritionist, and that's how you came upon bioidentical hormones, and you did a lot of research, you said, on it. So what was your first step? Did you look who was the closest person to you who does bioidentical hormones, or how did you begin your search?
I think that our friends had already experienced it, and we were just talking about how we were feeling, and then they told us about it, and then I had already done research, so just looking up on the website helped me see, and of course they had experienced it, so that was really helpful. And so a lot of the questions were already answered. And then we met with Dr. Walters, and he was really great at going through all of the details and the questions. And even though I knew a lot of what he said, it was just good to see and understand how everything worked.
Okay, and did you decide immediately to go ahead and do the hormone pellet therapy?
Yeah, there was no question. It was really a good delivery system. I had looked at delivery systems and I think some of the fear is that people think that hormone replacement therapy is related to certain diseases like cancer and things like that. But the bioidentical ones aren't. And so they really just help you balance out and optimize what you do. I had read a book on menopause, and I actually said, okay, kill me now, because it was awful, all the things that you go through. And so I'm 54 now, definitely going through that. So it was time to consider something. And I love that they took your blood work, knew exactly what to do and what to give you, and then within a couple of weeks you're already feeling better.
What was the main symptom that you noticed right away that the bioidenticals helped you with?
I think more of a joy of life. I was kind of feeling tired. I didn't want to get out of bed. There was definitely some things that I said I don't feel myself, as well as I think the libido enhancing part was really good. And so I always recommend that you want to do it together with your husband, because
our significant other,
exactly. So those kind of things make you feel young and vibrant again, and you definitely lose that. I was also beginning some hot flashes, definitely night sweats. It was no fun to experience that. And you don't sleep as well. So all of that stuff starts adding up. And this kind of hormone replacement therapy really helped all of those things.
Great, great. And I know you both came together for your appointment. What about you, Brian? What did you notice right away that helped you, the bioidenticals helped you with?
Along with what Laura said about the joy of life, we own our own business, and it can be stressful. We manage 10 employees. We also have 5 children.
Oh boy.
Growing up, still with us. So the joy of life, the stress level, I think I could handle stress a little bit better. Even the kids, our children, had said that my mood swings they noticed, gee, things have changed with Dad. His mood swings aren't, quite the same they used to be. And you work all day, you come home, you got the issues of home and what's going on, and so that, and also the libido. That definitely was an improvement. I didn't realize how low. I mean, for years, we've been married 27 years. My testosterone level was so low.
Really?
And never had it checked. Of course, it's something you just don't normally do.
Exactly,
And with the pre-screening here to get it ready, it was like, get ready. It was amazing to see how low, kind of low factor. And by getting the therapy, it's definitely increased, and that's been a big factor.
Good, good. I think, as you were saying, you're a nutritionist, so you want to put healthy things into your body, and knowing that the bioidentical hormones are natural, that plays into, your life experience and how you both want to live. And also, I think you're right. I don't think any of us really think, we all know we're getting older, we all know we're aging, but I don't think any of us really realize how low all of our our body is, everything's changing along with us getting older, and I don't think we really realize it because we live with ourselves every day.
It's a slow
gradual.
degression.
Absolutely,
It's just
absolutely.
slowly happening, and you don't realize.
Right, and it's good that you don't want to get down to that bottom level where you're never going to come back up from it, And so I think you're right, finding this as the happy medium and the balance has really helped so many people, and it's really hard to get the word out there because we've just been inundated so much with this will help you with this and this will help you with that. But to hear real people, that have, children and a busy life, how much it's helped them, I think it really will help to, really support what we're trying to do here with the bioidentical hormones. So when you do your hormones, you go back every couple of months, every 3 months or so. I think it's longer for men, right? 6 months?
Yeah, I do every 5.
5 months,
Yeah,
okay.
I found it right around 5.5. I was starting to feel the lessening effect. So we agreed on doing 5, and it keeps me consistent. I don't feel that slowly coming down again, and it's been really good that way.
It is amazing though that when they do start coming out of your system, how you feel, you start feeling like you did when you initially first got the pellets. I really love the fact that the kids love you both doing that, that they noticed a difference.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Do you tell people about your experience with the hormone?
Actually, we were just recently with my sister and brother-in-law skiing just the other day, and we've been with them before, and every now and then it comes up in conversation. So we've been explaining to them the benefits. And some other friends of ours that are actually younger than us, we'll explain that as well. We actually have some good friends out in California that we've been trying to get when they come over here a couple times a year.
There's no one out there where they are, so that's
really
kind of a problem.
So we're trying to hook them up
So
to come out here.
visit.
Exactly, come out here every
3
couple of months.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Dr. Walter and the staff and and people at Medical Aesthetics?
Great.
Yeah, you've had a good
everybody there is friendly, informative. When we call up, have to make an adjustment in our schedule, whatever, very accommodating. Dr. Walter and I, when we get together, we'll chat for a good 15, 20 minutes about life and so forth.
Right.
And the benefits as well. And he'll ask me, how things are going, all that, and I just continue to just praise him for what everybody does there.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Have you noticed a difference with your nutrition doing the bioidentical hormones? Has there been any change with that or heightened?
Yeah, definitely. It affects your metabolism, and that's a lot of times what weight loss. You actually had gained another 5 pounds, then another 5 pounds after a year. So those 5 pounds that keep creeping up, and I know that muscle dictates metabolism, and so having your hormones balanced definitely helped my muscle mass when I started exercising. And I didn't exercise because I didn't have that joy of life as much, and I just feel stress, and I didn't take the time. So I said, I really need to take the time, and I added that, and it also made a huge difference. So now I'm much leaner and stronger, and feel definitely like 20 years younger.
Wow, that's great to hear. It's funny how you said, with the nutrition and with the libido, that it's helped both of those things, which are huge in maintaining a wonderful relationship. So that's a great thing that we want people to know about, that, you're going to grow old together, so you might as well grow old together in the best way possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than feeling old and I remember
I don't
when
want to get old.
my parents, don't you remember when your parents were old and they really weren't that old because they're probably our age right now, but they seemed so much older because they were tired and just, that last grandkid, they were like, just go do whatever you want, right? Because they just don't have the energy that they did, years ago. So I'm glad to hear that the hormones make you feel a lot younger, and I don't know the ages of your children, but at least you can keep up with the children and keep up with the demands of a great home life as well as a business life as well. Yeah, good. So in closing, anything that you would like to tell people that just might be a little bit skeptical?
Well, you talked about the children. Our oldest is 24, our youngest is 16. And so, you put a lot of time and energy into your children, and then when they start heading off, what better time than to have the energy to just be together and all of the other things that go with it, because it's no good, they're all gone, and then you
Yeah.
you have nothing left
Right,
to give
right.
each other.
Exactly.
And so it's a wonderful gift, as well as just the benefit and the gift of giving that of life and health to yourself.
That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Well, I thank you both for coming on today
Thank
and
you.
speaking about bioidentical hormones, and I'm really happy that you have such great success with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And coming up next, I'll be sitting with Dr. Walter, and we will be talking about bioidentical hormone and the supplementation that goes along with it.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who do something, the people who take action, are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Hi there, welcome back to the second half of today's show. Sitting here today with Dr. Walter, and hi there, and we're going to be talking about the supplements that go along with bioidentical hormone therapy. So, Dr. Walter, what are we talking about today?
Well, along with the hormones, we also, BioT recommends several supplements. This is very different than a lot of places you go into. Some places like GNC or Whole Foods can be really overwhelming because they have shelves and shelves of stuff. And I had a patient last week who brought in an entire shopping bag of supplements, and I stopped counting after about 35. She had 5 or 6 different bags, and some had a dozen in it. And interestingly, she knew what they all were, but a lot of times when patients do that, they've been told, take this or take this, and if it's raining and it's Tuesday, take these 3 here, and they just kind of forget about it or forget why they're taking it. And they obviously spend a lot of money in doing that. BioT is really, really selective. Again, it's been around for a number of years, and obviously there are a lot of supplement companies that would like to be involved with BioT, but right now there are sort of 5 classic supplements that we use, and I'm just going to kind of go over those. And I'm going to be starting with vitamin D, because to me that's really by far the most important one, and I think almost everybody, certainly in New England, needs to know about this and be on it. So this is our vitamin D supplement here, and it's called 80K10 because it's 10,000 units, and then we also have a 5,000 because this is kind of a starter pack, and then the 5,000 is one that would maintain patients, and that's what I've been on now for a number of years. This also has A and K2 in it, and I'll go over those in a few minutes. So the 5 and 10,000 units, again, the 10,000 is for 3 months to start, the 5 is to sort of maintain it. Vitamin D is really, really important for a number of things, and everybody knows it's important for the bones, but that's kind of where the sort of the common knowledge stops. If you don't have enough vitamin D, it's probably more important than calcium, and certainly the two together are more important, but to maintain the bone health. But it also is very important for preventing cancer and for keeping the risk of cardiovascular disease really low. Now, it's a little bit hard without having the actual numbers, but the normal lab values are 30 to 100, and we try to have our patients between 50 and 60. The most common numbers that I see here in New England are between maybe 18, 20, 22, 24. I see that all the time, especially in northern New England. And the reason is because most of the time we're dressed like Terry is, and she's got long sleeves on. And in the summertime we go outside, but we put sunscreen on because skin cancer is obviously bad. So 24, 20, 18 is very common. Sometimes I'll see people in the 30s if they're outside and more active, and rarely I'll see somebody in the 40s and 50s if they're like working landscaping, that kind of thing. As far as toxicity goes, levels of over 100. I've seen that 3 times. Last week was my 3rd time in years of doing this, and she was like 106. And so maybe we have her back down a little bit, but that's not a toxic level. Now, there's really very little risk of overdosing here, and most people only get into trouble if they're over 200 or 300, and sometimes levels of thousands of times higher than we're talking about here. Now, the interesting thing is, if you look in your multivitamins, the RDA, the recommended daily allotment or allowance, was just recently changed from 600 from 400 to 600. And that's still way, way too low. 400 is to prevent rickets. Now, I've been in medicine over 35 years, and I've never seen rickets. It's kind of, with our diet, we just don't run into that. And there was recently, the Institute of Medicine recently calculated, they kind of looked at the initial studies, and they realized that probably there's a 10-fold error. So when the normal range is supposed to be 400 to 600 now, it really actually is more likely 4,000 to 6,000 for the daily intake. And again, that's not going to get people toxic here. So one of the things I find frustrating is currently the Mayo Clinic says that a level of 20 is adequate, and if you look at the science, it just clearly isn't. I just strongly disagree with that. And people say, oh, I take some vitamin D in my milk. That's just not going to do anything. We can just check that with the blood levels. Again, toxicity is extremely rare. Sometimes it has to be hundreds or thousands of times higher than it is. And when that happens, then people have a tendency to really use calcium too much. They get kidney stones, they get hardening of the arteries. But that's not anything we see at the normal ranges, and certainly not something we see at the low ranges. The 10,000 a day, again, we've been using that in 5,000 a day for years and have not run into trouble, and we've not had overdoses on that. I've had a couple patients, again, the patients I mentioned before that were high, they were in 10,000 or 15,000 units a day. But other patients I've had are on that, and they've been on it for years, and their ranges are right in the 40, 50, 60 range where people should be. Some of the recent science to show why vitamin D is so important, there was a PLOS study that was done in 2016, and it looked at 2,300 women, so over 2,000 women, and they picked vitamin D level of 20 as bad and 48 as good. They ran the study for 3.9 years, for 4 years essentially, and they looked at risk of all different kinds of cancer, except not skin cancer for some reason, but all other cancers, ovarian, breast cancers, and they found in those 4 years a 2% drop from people who had low levels of vitamin D. So there was another study in 2005, European Journal of Cancer. So these are all, these are all very worthwhile, legitimate journals and scientific publications. And they looked at 360 women who had breast cancer, and the women who had levels lower than 50, again, not we're talking 18 or 20, which is what we have around here, but lower than 50, there were 6 times higher risk of having breast cancer. That's really very significant. I'm not going to kill you with science here, but Archives of Internal Medicine, 2008, there were 12,000 women, or actually people in general, with vitamin D levels, and they just kind of looked at what people were dying from, and they found a 26% decreased risk of dying from just all different causes, heart attacks, strokes. There's another recent study that looked at older women in nursing homes, and when they gave vitamin D, they found that they got out of chairs better, they were able to walk better, so there was a low risk of falling, and that's often when people are very elderly and frail, falling is often what kills them. They break a hip or they break a wrist and they just have a harder time recovering, and before they have a chance to recover, they can die from that. Right. So a lot of science out there, and it's so cheap, it's so easy. Vitamin D is readily available. Again, ours has vitamin A and K2 in it. And interestingly, in Japan, they don't use Fosamax or Boniva, those kind of medications for people who have osteoporosis to strengthen the bones. They just use K2, and we have the vitamin D and the K2, and it just helps the vitamin D get absorbed better. So have it tested. It's easy, and talk to your doctor about this. There are a lot of doctors who are now starting to do this. And again, our target here at BHRT at New England. Medical Studies in New England. Our target is just to get you in the middle of the normal range. We're not talking crazy high numbers, but docs just aren't used to seeing people with levels in the 50s and 60s. But the science really shows that it's just critically important to do that. It's so easy and so cheap.
Very good.
So,
okay.
The next supplement here is, and these go a little bit quicker. Most people are familiar with omega-3s. These are the fish oils. They help with arterial health. They help with just a lot of different things, and thinning of the blood and just making the arteries generally healthy. And the benefit to ours is sometimes when people buy them over the counter or buy them at CVS or whatever, if they burp, they taste like mackerel or something. Ours doesn't do that.
Okay.
We just, again, looking at the science, it's 1,000 milligrams. That seems to be a kind of a standard dosage. Very easy to take. This next one here is probiotics. Obviously, people have heard about that. A lot of people are already on it. And when somebody's in the antibiotics in the emergency department, I usually suggest that they go on probiotics just to try to stop yeast infections, and sometimes they get other issues with it too. The probiotics are really easy to take. The reason they're so important is because 60 to 70% of the immune systems are on the intestines, and you have probably 1,000 different kinds of bacteria, and yours are obviously different than mine. So no probiotic's going to give you exactly the perfect 1,000 that you need or the ideal 1,000, but there are some that have been studied quite a bit. I think the important thing to realize about probiotics is that if you eat yogurt, which has a lot of lactobacillus, live cultures, obviously, there's a lot of good bacteria in there, but your body doesn't know that. So if you eat yogurt or eat these, these smoothies with probiotics in it, what happens is it goes into your stomach acid breaks it down, and most of those good bacteria are killed. So they're just turned into, food substance for the body. So you're getting maybe 2.5 to 5% survival through the stomach if you just drink it that way.
Okay.
The benefit to ours is it has a couple different active bacteria in it, but the capsule is patented and it goes through the stomach acid, doesn't get dissolved till then, so it gets into the intestines and then it dissolves, and you're getting 65, 70% survival. So again, we think ours is better, but I think more importantly is that people are actively on probiotics and eating healthy. And again, if you have any questions, any of this stuff, please call us and we can go over some of the specifics. The last two are iodine and dim. Iodine is something everybody's heard of. It's an iodized salt. This is, it's a very inexpensive supplement. And the reason we use it for two reasons. One, it's one of the stronger antioxidants that's available out there. And it's very important for breast health and prostate and ovarian. And it's obviously also important for the thyroid. When we talked before in the other video that we had done, we talked about T3 and T4. Well, T3 is your body using 3 iodines to make that hormone. The T4 is 4 iodines. The confusing thing about iodine, because everybody thinks they have it in their salt, is that they really don't, because people don't use Morton's iodized salt anymore. Usually what they use is sea salt, which really doesn't have a lot in it. And also it doesn't last that long if it's sitting on the shelf for a number of years. And depending what the diet is, there's also a product that's in a lot of foods, like Gatorade has it. They're trying to get rid of it, but some of the lemon lime sodas like Slice, it's in pesticides in strawberries. But the most common thing is in baked goods as brominated flour, and that has bromine in it. And the FDA does not require that to be listed. So a lot of times you don't even know that it's in the foods. And what the bromine does, it'll plug up the iodine receptors, because in the periodic table they're very close to each other, but your body can't do anything with it. So the one thing with the iodine, we have a higher dose than you'd normally get in the multivitamins. Sometimes you can kick the bromine off, and occasionally people will get a detox for a few days, and we go over that with everybody. Most people tolerate it fine as long as they have a reasonably healthy diet.
Okay. And the last one's dim, right?
And the last one's dim, yeah. And the iodine is the dosage we use is much higher, again, as I mentioned before, than it is in the multivitamins. And it's what the traditional Japanese diet have. They eat seafood and they eat kelp, and so it's a higher level of iodine. They do completely fine with it, as long as they don't have Hashimoto's. You need selenium for that. Ours has that already in there, so it's not an issue with Hashimoto's.
Okay.
You mentioned the last one here is DIM. This is diindolylmethane. This is the active ingredient in Brussels sprouts and broccoli, but you got to eat like 2 pounds a day, and even if you love it, most people don't do that.
Right.
The DIM is important for 2 reasons. When you do the hormones with us, then it'll make more of the free testosterone available, and the free is the usable one that the receptors can see. So you kind of get more bang for the buck for what we would be giving you. The other thing is when testosterone gets broken down, it gets broken down into a number of different other substances, and some of them are estrogens, and there's sort of good and bad estrogens, and this makes it go down towards the good pathway. The bad is more stimulating. If there's a small breast cancer or something in there, it can be more stimulating. This is actually protective, so that's why we suggest people get on the DIM. So again, those are the only supplements we have where we really vet the whole process of, there's really, I think I've read recently there's 90,000 supplement manufacturers, not supplements, but manufacturers. So there's lots of them out there, and everybody has, the best mousetrap out there. But BHRT is really very careful about vetting which supplements that we suggest people, because it can get pretty overwhelming quickly. There was a famous news article that came out like a year ago or so that they looked at some of the supplements at GNC and I think they went into Whole Foods and some of the CVSs and common supplements, and they found there was just such a huge variation in dosage, and you really don't know what you have because it's not really regulated. We know exactly what we have, and I use the products myself, and I think a lot of the people in the office, most of the people in the office use these too.
Right. Well, great. Wow, this is a lot of information.
A lot of information.
I'm glad that you have broken it down for us, and it's good to know that this is part of the bioidentical hormone therapy, just to enhance everything that people do. So thank you so much for today's show.
Thank you very much, and thank you.
Thank you for joining us on today's show. Our next episode will be about the O and P shot, so stay tuned for that. Again, thank you, Dr. Walter.
Thank
and
you,
I wanted to
Terry.
thank Laura and Brian for being on today's show. Of course, ActonTV for having us on their set today. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.